All right, we got a couple of little foibles we got to take care of today, namely a slow starting function. Not sure if it's the battery or the starter. However, Advanced Auto Parts store nearby is going out of business, and I picked up a reman starter for this car for 22 bucks. So that was pretty cool. Normally they're about 90, but the funny thing is, after I return the core, I can get 14 bucks back. It'll be an $8 starter. But before we do all that, the old girl needs a bath. I'm going easy on her. I got some of that fancy Chemical Guys, I think is the brand or whatever. I don't know, some kind of expensive brand car wash stuff here. I think I got it for Christmas a couple of years ago. I don't wash cars much. I'm kind of over it, really. Yeah, car detailing and me are like, yeah, whatever. You know? But I think we're going to speed this up and just get her done. If you guys have got any ideas or tips for a front license plate, I've deliberated over the years to fill that hole in, but you know, I never really made up my mind. So if you got any ideas, comment down below. I'd like to hear what your thoughts are. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and finish this thing up. We'll be right back. All right, got an old classic car. After you wash it, you need to clean out your door jambs. It'll just start rusting if you don't do that. So you come in here, especially if you have one of these cars with it's like a hard top, you know, it doesn't have a frame around the window. No, it's not a chamois. It's just a soft cotton bath towel. So get over yourself. Get down in here. Make sure you get down in the doors, man. Water will just sit down in there and rust your car away if you don't. So anyway. All right, there you go, all dried off. And I think she's ready for a new starter because this old girl cranking slow. All right, another thing I forgot to tell you guys about. Very rare option, actually. Might have been 71 only. Might have been 72, 73, I'm not sure. See these vents? It was part of the cabin ventilation system. So anyway, rainwater will get, or you know, when you wash it, will go into those vents, and then it runs down in a pocket in the trunk lid and around the side here. So what you want to do after you wash your car, I don't know if you guys saw that. You see that water run out of there? That was up in here. All right, see that water running out? Now, the ventilation from inside the car comes through this area here, through the back seat. There's an air tunnel in there somewhere. I can't recall where it is. The low air pressure when you're going down the road from these vents here, there's a low pressure region, puts a draw on the cabin this way. And this is before, I think this is before GM started just basically turning on the blower at low speed all the time, you know, right? So to keep people from dying of carbon monoxide poisoning. But anyway, But if you got one of these cars, a 71 with this vent in the trunk lid, after you're done washing, make sure you raise your trunk lid, let the water run out, and dry all this off, and you know, should be good to go. I think that probably there's not a lot of these 71s left on the roads because they just probably just rusted out because of this similar type problems. So, all right, now we can put the starter on. All right, there's the offending critter there, assuming the starter is in fact the problem. I had them run a test at the parts house. They said everything looked good to them, but you know, whatever that means with their little rinky-dink machine. So I'm gonna, since they had a sale on at Advance for starters, and I got a starter for 22 bucks, I'll try that first, because the battery was not on sale. You had to play, you know, if you wanted to, you know, it was full price. So just for giggles, let's see if this is tight. It's tight enough. It was, I mean, I got a little more on it, but you know, it was tight. So, but it wasn't like absolutely tight. So since that wasn't absolutely tight, I'm gonna put it back on the ground and try to start it and see what happens. Okay, this may be a short video. All right, I didn't take it all the way down. I just hooked the battery back up, and we're just gonna see what she does. Nope. Yep, supposed to spin over like a crazy, not go blah, blah, blah. So enough of all that. Let's take I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect the battery again, get her back in the air, yank the starter off, and we'll start over. Get the main power lead off and disconnect the start signal. There's one more up there, can't forget it. I can't remember which is which. One of them is the main, I would like to start the car now wire. And then there's some others that are just like, hey, I need some electricity for this and that and the other thing. Like ignition and, you know, stuff like that. Disconnect the support strap. All right, first bolt has the ground strap on it as well. This starter ain't going nowhere. It got an exhaust pipe and a steering linkage in the way. Shims. All right, I got the inspection cover off. It has to be on there for the final installation, but we need to make sure this new starter doesn't require shimming, and there's a procedure for that. So that's what we're going to do now. So this, and the way you get this starter is you start way over here near the wheel, and come in from the side and snake it through all the stuff. Once you get it over here, ain't no way it can fall out of the car. I guess that's a Cadillac feature. I'm just gonna put it up there without any shims on it. All right, so I need to move the engine a smidgen so I can get the teeth to line up between the starter and the flywheel. And I'll show you what's going on here in a minute. There we go. See what that does. And there's a hole in the bottom of the starter, by the way. That little hole right there. Get yourself a narrow flathead screwdriver. and then you stick it in there and get it behind that, whatever you call it, that gear. Pull the gear outward. There we go. So I should have noticed this right off the bat before you even, you know, start to try to pull the gear. So what you're trying to do is you pull this gear into these teeth, and then you get a, I think it's a 1/8 inch Allen long one, and you slip it in there and make sure you got 1/8 of an inch of clearance. Anyway, we can't do that yet because you see that wheel right there? It's touching the teeth on the flex plate. So that's, you know, you can't have that. So looks like shimming is in order. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the original shim stack that I had in there. and we'll see what happens. I'll show you what I'm doing here. Got the screwdriver in the little hole and moved the gear out, the starter gear. I can't remember the proper word for it, but it engages in the flex plate now with the shim stack that I have in there. However, if I look right there, I still have a little bit of, it's still too close. The flex plate teeth, the end of them, are too close to this little wheel that spins around there. So that little bit right there, that little wheel right there, a little bit too close to that. And I can eyeball it. We don't have enough room between the teeth either, so need to add a couple more shims. All right, added a 32nd shim and got a 1/8 inch Allen, so I can get that easily between the shaft, the pinion shaft, and the end of these teeth. So that is in the ballpark. Plus we have good clearance between the pinion gear stop and the flex plate. So pardon all the shaky stuff. I'm on the cell phone here. It's kind of hard to do this, but anyway, so that clearance is good. Show you something else here. So let's get this pinion gear engaged with the flex wheel like that. And I got this wire here. It's I forget what gauge it is, but the big part is 0.04. So if I slip that in there from the back side, and you'll note that it goes all the way through. So we have 0.04 clearance between the top of the pinion gear and the root of the flex plate. All right, let's get this big rascal moved into place here. All right, now you can get one bolt in it like that. Now's the time you put your shim stack in, because they're open on one end and closed on the other. So the open end will go into the, get slid up in there, and it'll go around the bolt you just put in there. Guess I gotta loosen it. Got it up there a little too tight. All right, I had to loosen the inspection cover because it's holding the starter down a little too far. So anyway, now we should be able to get the shim stack in. There we go. Everybody's in a nice place where they where they're supposed to be now. Now we get our bolts up through there. 46 foot-pounds, in case you're wondering. I normally don't do this, but in other words, torque starter bolts, but I'm going to do it today. All right, I got them up to 40. Let's tighten up this inspection cover here. All right, I'm going to reconnect the wires and put the mounting strap on the back of this thing, and then we're going to lower the car and start it up and see how she does. I'm feeling so confident, I'm going to even just sit in the car and do it properly. With no keys. Yep. I like working on cars. It's so much fun. See what happens here. Awesome. That was interesting. It spun at that first try. Maybe it hit the flywheel, the flex plate, and didn't get in there quite all the way. But then I tried it a second time and it seemed to work fine. Actually, it cranked really well. Let's see what happens this second time. I'm gonna call that first time a fluke and just say it was, you know, newness and had to get itself all in the groove and go, oh crap, I'm a starter. I gotta just start this Cadillac now, so. All right, let's torture her one more time. I'm calling that fixed, folks. Good 472. So if I really wanted to be cheap, and I usually am, I could take this thing I got from, I think I bought it at O'Reilly a few years ago, and I could take it back and get my core, which is like 12 or 14 bucks, and I could have an $8 starter instead of a $22 starter. I think I'm going to do that now. All right, so while we're fixing things that basically annoy the heck out of me, we're going to go ahead and do something about the brakes. So a couple of years ago, I put this new master cylinder on here. You can refer to it back to a previous video. It took me a while to find this master cylinder because this matches the original style that this car came with in '71, namely that the rear and front chambers are both the same size. If you look up the master cylinder for this car, you're going to see one with a larger chamber here and a smaller one back here. That's not correct. They're supposed to be the same size. That's what's correct for a '71 Cadillac. I'll see if I can't put that the part number for this one in the description down below. This is for like a '69 Camaro and other pickup trucks and things like that, in that particular era, or late '60s, early '70s. But the brakes are applying themselves. I'll tell you precisely what I think it is. So you can't find an original master cylinder for this car that has two size chambers, with this front fitting is a 1/2 by 20 and the back fitting 9/16 by 18. And the third criteria being that you have a shallow piston depth on the back where the booster applies to the master cylinder. I met two of the criteria, the same size chambers and the fittings. However, the piston depth is quite deep. So I had to go buy a little adapter from Summit. It's about yay long. Looks like a little bullet, really. It's silver. And you slide it up in there. And basically, it's to adapt a deep piston depth master cylinder to a shallow piston depth brake booster. So that's what we have here in this case. I put that in there. It was too long. I took it out and I cut it down and I beveled the interior of it with a drill bit. So because the end of the piston on the booster is kind of like a nose cone, you know, so they would fit together nicely. But I don't think I took enough off. So I think I need to take 1/8 off, maybe 3/16, maybe even 1/4 inch. I'm not sure. That's my plan for today. So let's go ahead and get busy now. Let's see how well we can do. Okay, we've got some paper towels and whatnot here, so try to keep from getting brake fluid on our painted steel fender liners. I got some plugs over here on the side, and I'm going to slip up in there at the earliest convenience. Quick and easy. There we go. All right. Come on off there. All right, here we are. You can see this thing started to rust on me over the last couple of years, so maybe we'll do something about that while we're at it. Maybe I just didn't do a good enough job on this. Maybe I got some burrs on it. It's causing it to stick inside that bore. I don't know. Maybe I just screwed it up. There we go. That wasn't a huge deal, was it? All right, that's what I'm talking about right there. See that? Now you've got a bigger part and a little part. Let's put it in there backwards, just to make sure we're not hanging up. No? Doesn't seem to be. I do know one thing. I'm going to shorten this thing by, I'm going to go about an 1/8, maybe 3/16, something like that. And while we're at it, we'll chamfer these edges a little bit, about right there. Some of that rag melted on the, this is all synthetic stuff, melted on there, man. I didn't see that coming. It seems to be coming off fairly easily though, so that's cool. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get a drill bit and put a dimple down in there next. Not exactly center. Got a little more meat over here. I'm gonna get the Dremel tool and a little stone bit and bore that out a little bit more. Don't have to be pretty, just needs to be symmetrical. Man, I bet there's some machinists out there that are just having a conniption fit right now. Looks good. All right, that's what we got. I shortened it up about probably not quite a quarter, probably about 3/16, something like that. Just guessed at it. Got a nice little dimple down in there because the piece on the car has got, you know, it's cone shaped, so it needs to fit up inside there. Let's go ahead and put this thing back in the car, and hopefully we won't have to bleed brakes, but we more than likely will have to. So I want to put this thing back on the car, and next thing you see will be basically a brake test. All right, let's see what we have here. Yeah, the brake pedal feels a lot better. Holy cow. Before, basically, when you ride down the road, it felt like the car didn't have any power. And when you let off the gas, you go like that, you know, you could feel the car decelerating quickly, you know. And when you did press the brake, it was like 1 micron down and you're stopping. You know, it's not supposed to be like that. Of course, I just slapped it on there, didn't even bleed the brakes or anything. And I got, you know, I got half travel on the brake pedal, so it probably got to bleed them. I really hate bleeding brakes, but the other half is actually really good at it now, so that may not take us too awful long. Right now I think I'm gonna get the motorhome out of the way and back this thing into the driveway, kind of give it a driveway test, see how she feels. Just do reverse. And oh yeah. Oh my goodness, yeah. So, a little abrupt reverse and stop and reverse there. Let's go forward. You know, if you're messing with your brakes, man, always, you know, test them in your driveway. Don't be testing them on the street. That's stupid. Or your farm, or your, you know, or your land, or wherever it is, an alley, someplace where there's no people. Common sense, I know, but you know. Let's see. Woo. Yeah. 472 threw you back, didn't it? Okie dokie. I feel really good about this. Actually, I'm gonna go down the street and back just to see, you know, they're fine. So I'm gonna go down the street and back. We're all done with the brakes and got her back out on the road. And I'm happy to report, man, I'm coming slowly to a stop sign effortlessly. And when I release my foot from the brake, the car goes forward like it's supposed to. It doesn't just sit there. and go, I've still got the brakes on, ha ha. All right, here's what we found. We found two things. The main one, we found that the adapter that I bought from Summit was a smidgen too long. I lopped it off, put it back in there, and that addressed the issue with the brakes really coming on strong. I mean, it was bad. I went up the interstate to go buy the starter the other day, right? I was worried. I was like, it was so bad. I was worried as, holy crap, you know, are my wheels gonna burn up on the way up there, you know? Man, I'm so glad we got that taken care of. Number two, the emergency brake. If you have one of these Cadillacs, you will know, well, pretty much, I don't know when they started it. They may still, in fact, do it. The emergency brake is released by some automatic means. Of course, all modern cars are like that now. But, you know, back in the day, that was a very innovative feature for Cadillac. When you get in the car, if your emergency brake is engaged, when you get in the car, you crank it up, put your foot on the brake, obviously, but you don't have to switch one of these things into gear. But anyway, since it's so old, when you move the gear shifter off park, the emergency brake disengages. It's vacuum controlled, right? And it's got a spring and all this kind of stuff. Well, all right. So that system works because I repaired it a while back, a couple of years ago. The parking brake pedal, or emergency brake, as Americans are fond of saying, that brake pedal, I think it just needs some lubrication, because when you rely on the automatic system to fully disengage the parking brake, it likes that much coming back up. So we had two whammies on us. We had all four wheels under braking, which was really bad. I found the parking brake after I did my test drive. I thought my hood wasn't latched properly. I stopped at a stop sign and it was kind of on a hill. And I got out of the car real quick and made sure my hood was properly latched. And while I was doing that, I engaged the parking brake because I was on a little bit of a hill. Well, when I got back in the car and put it into drive, the parking brake came up and I was like, okay, everything's fine. And I started to go and I noticed I had the problem, but it wasn't as bad as it was. Finally, it dawned on me. I looked down at that pedal down there. It was clearly not up all the way. So I stopped at this gas station here on the right, and I got up underneath there. There's a release right above the pedal. You push up on it, and it disengages all the vacuum, and that pedal came up by that much. And now it's perfect. The brakes are perfect. It's so much nicer to drive. I let off the brake pedal, the car lurches forward like it's supposed to. You know, it free rolls as best it can, really, because you're driving a brick, you know. The best free rolling car I ever had, I love this car. Some jerk hit us in the side and it was totaled out, even though there wasn't that much damage. Don't get me started on that. I had a 1992 Chevrolet Caprice Classic station wagon with the LO5 5.7 liter throttle body injected V8. It was that 700 R4 transmission. You talk about a fine driving car. Chevrolet bragged on the coefficient of drag. There's a cassette tape that came with the car. I still have it. I may play it for you one day in a new video. Ooh, that'd be a lot of fun, actually. Anyway, it's an advertisement. You'd play it in the car after you bought it. It would tell you all about the car, right? And they bragged about the 0.315 coefficient of drag for that. If you may recall, those cars were very sleek and aerodynamic. Anyway, that was the best rolling car I ever had. You let off the gas going down the highway, it just kept on going. It was like, you know, why do I need to press the gas? And it got great gas mileage. You got in the mid-20s out on the highway. So anyway, I really missed that car. I should have never sold it. Don't you hear that quite often? Anyway, we're here at Wally World. Gonna pick up a couple things, gonna head back to the house, and then we'll wrap up this hodgepodge video. So I'll be back shortly. All right, folks, there you have it. I think we're gonna wrap this video up. Appreciate you guys sticking around through all of my, well, overly particular eccentricities. Let's just call it that. Yeah. Some guys would go, that's good enough. I just can't do it. Just can't do it. I don't drive this old Cadillac enough, and if you've been following the channel for quite some time now, you know I've been restoring this old Corvette over here for the last 18 months. So finally, we're back on the Cadillac, and I got this annoying brake problem addressed. The little adapter I had in the master cylinder, had to shorten that up a little bit, and that just worked a treat. That was just fantastic. I also learned something about the parking brake, and that it doesn't fully disengage when you pull the gear shifter into drive. So I'm just gonna have to put a little grease on the pedal, or maybe a little trans fluid, or maybe just some plain old WD-40 and loosen it up a little bit. But thankfully there's a lever underneath there, and you can just push it up and it will fully release. Anyway, the brakes are just wonderful. The braking on the car is as it's supposed to be, and it's just so much nicer to drive. Got big plans for this car coming up. Probably gonna take the top end off. Intake, heads, lifters. We're going to take a look at the lifters. We're going to see if a couple of the cam lobes have been smoked. That idle just really bugs the tar out of me. So it may be just valves. I'm not sure what it is, but it's something in the top end, and I'm going to figure it out come hell or high water. Along the way, I'm going to go ahead and totally refurbish the air conditioning on the car because, well, it needs it. And I mentioned this in a previous video. I'm still shopping around for another old Mercedes. So I'm serious about that. I would really like to pick up something probably older than the 84 300 SD, maybe even a gas model. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Well, anyway, I appreciate you guys stopping by the channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd like to be notified whenever I release a new video, don't forget to click that little bell down below. You guys have a good one. And remember to enjoy driving your classic Cadillac.